That was awesome. Wait, 1 second. This is amazing. This is my first time in London in quite a while. All right, everybody stand up, please. You're like, oh no, he's one of those guys. All right, I really want to serve you because you've taken time, and how many of you, it was a little bit of a sacrifice to be here? Raise your hand. How many of you traveled here? Oh, wow, this is incredible, Tim. This is amazing. Can we give the production team, the people behind, people don't realize how many moving parts goes on behind the scenes for months and months and months to make this happen. Can we give them a hand? All right. Simple exercises. Take your hand or your elbow and just touch the opposite knee. If you're sitting, you could do this also as well. You're like, what am I doing? What class is this? So I don't have a whole lot of slides. I don't believe the human brain learns best through consumption. I really think most of us learn best through rolling up our sleeves and actually doing it. And that's going to be the process we're going to take you through. I want you to shake out your hands and massage your opposite earlobe. And then with the opposite hand, and I'm going to ask you to inhale and bend down. Squat down, exhale, squat up. Inhale, go down. Exhale, come on up. Inhale, go down. Exhale, come up. One more time with a big smile on your face, thinking, what does this have to do with speed reading? All right, shake out your body. All right, so let's bring some energy in. We're gonna do some brain training today. Jumpstart your brain for another amazing day. Just imagine the energy coming in. And I want to challenge you, as you're doing this, I want you to try to move one hand in the opposite direction. Instead of going like this, put one out like this. So one's clockwise, one's counterclockwise. Okay, most of you are still doing this. So you're going like this, but you're going like this, you see? Or this. All right. Actually, try this. I want to see. Try going. Put your hands like this. One on the bottom here. Imagine a box like this in front of you. So a box is ahead of you, and you're on the bottom quadrants of your box, the corners, and then just go switch, up, switch, down, switch, up, switch, down, and then soften the curves. All right, that's a little bit better. All right, have a seat. All right. So I want you, my outcome for today is I want you to feel like this session alone was worth your time, your travel, and the money it cost you to be at this event, just this session alone. And in order to do that, it's not because I'm so great, it's because collectively we are that great. How many people want that, is committed to achieving that? So when we talk about morning routines, one of the things I do each morning is I'll go outside, I'll get grounded, I'll get the elements, right? The fire from the sun, the air, do some breathing, grounded on the earth, drink some water, and I'll just close my eyes and I'll fast forward and do this thought experiment. I'll go to the end of my day and I'll imagine I'm winding down my day, ready to go to bed, and I ask myself, or somebody asked me, like a family member, a friend, how was your day? And I was like, wow, I crushed it today. Today was amazing. What an incredible day today was. And then I'll ask myself, what had to happen in order for me to feel that way? Does that make sense? So because I want you to remind you, you're not the passenger of your life, you are the pilot, right? You're not the passenger of your mind, you're the pilot of your mind. And by living with intention, and consciously, mindfulness is not just meditation, right? Mindfulness is like when you're eating or working out or having a conversation with a family member or a friend, right? So I had that intention. I was like working backwards. If I was really happy and fulfilled at the end of the day, what happened that day, right? And you could do these mental thought experiments all the time, even for this, right? If you're to fast forward 40 minutes from now and you're out there and I feel so many people outside. I do feel grateful to be in this room all collectively together, all of us, to learn like this. I want you to think about if somebody asked you how this session was and you said it was amazing, What happened during this session? What did we co-create during this time together? So give me an idea of what that would be. Why are you here? If somebody asks you how this session was, what did you learn? What did you experience? Just kind of raise your hand and just let's do this together. Yes. Yeah, how many of you want hope? Like a certain level of hope, like this is possible for me, right? And not only hope, real help, like tangible things to do. Good. What else? Yes.
Growth, just to keep growing.
Growth.
Moment of every second of every day.
Okay, how many of you enjoy growing, right? Because if you're green, think about nature, right? If you're role modeling nature, everything in nature is green and it grows, or it's brown and it rots. Also, everything in nature also contributes to the rest of nature, right? And or otherwise it's eliminated. I have this term called grow givers. You grow so you have more to give to others. How many of you though just give, and you're that person that people kind of count on, and you feel depleted at the end of the day, right? How many of you feel a little burnt out? Sometimes we feel burnt out not because we're doing too much. Sometimes we're burnt out because we're doing too little of the things that make us feel alive, right? And that's why I think it's so important that we prioritize our own self-care. And health is right there at the top. Well, what else specifically? Yes?
It's going to actually change it from the inside, that I'm going to remember for always. Something that's going to really move me, that's going to stay stuck.
How many of you would like to have an internal change inside because you feel a little bit stuck in some area of your life? Okay, and that goes beyond just memory and speed reading, right? All right, so I think your life is like an egg. You can write, anyone taking notes? So there's a learning curve, but there's also a forgetting curve, right? How many of you ever listened to a podcast or a lecture or read a book and you forgot what you just read? Look around. It's like Memory Anonymous, like a big support group for all of us. So I believe your life is like an egg. That if an egg is broken by an outside force, think about it, then life ends. But if it's broken by an inside force, life begins, right? So great things come from the inside. And I believe we're all on this quest to realize and reveal our fullest potential. And the goal is, close your eyes for a second. I want you to imagine a future self. Imagine you, something you want to be, something you want to do, something you want to have, something you want to share. And really, really imagine it. Step into it and throw some love into it also as well. And believe in it. And then just kind of imagine yourself every single day working daily for it, right? And imagination is more powerful than knowledge, right? Who said that? You can open your eyes. Who said that? Einstein, right? Imagination is more powerful than knowledge. So what else specifically can I teach you here? Yes? All right, how many of you want more confidence in your ability? And a lot of confidence comes from competence, right? A little bit. And it's also, confidence is a choice that we make. There's a quote in my book, Limitless, from a French philosopher, and he says, life is the letter C between the letters B and D. Life is C between B and D. What does that mean? B stands for what? Birth. D stands for death. Life C, choice. Right? We are the sum total of all the choices we've made up to this point. Is that true? What are we going to eat? Where are we going to live? Who are we going to spend time with, right? What are we going to feed our minds? What are we going to do as a career? What are we going to study? All that. So I believe choice is the ultimate power. You have a choice, and you always control the controllables. And there's only so many things that you could control, but these are the things that make the biggest difference in your life, right? And so I believe when it comes to choice that these difficult times, they can diminish us, these difficult times can distract us, or these difficult times, they could develop us. We ultimately decide. How many of you are familiar with my work? Raise your hand. How many of you seen me live and in person? All right, we're going to do some things that make this really experiential, because I want you to really get this, because I've sat, there's so much great knowledge here at this event. And you being here, you probably have forgotten more about health and biohacking and wellness than most of your friends and family will ever learn. Is that true? Yes or yes? Right? How are you explaining to your friends and family what you're doing this weekend? Because they already think you're weird already as it is, right? But the difference that makes the difference, how many of you have people in your life you want to change? Yeah, we all do, right? Now, is it easy to change other people? No. Think about how hard it is to change who? Ourselves, right? But what can we do? We could be an example for them, right? Because it's better well done than well said. A lot of people will talk about the money that they'll make or the influence that they'll have or the health and everything, but nothing sells somebody. Like, I think it's better that we show it than say it. You know what I mean? It's better that instead of promising it, we prove it by demonstrating what we could do, right? Like, so when you hear, like Max Lugavere, we had a lot of these people. How many of you listen to our podcast? So we've had a lot of these speakers on our podcast. Our show is only 20 minutes long. You could just search my name in YouTube or whatever you listen to a podcast on. We don't put any sponsors at all. We just want to democratize and get this information out to the world. He talks about certain brain foods, but how many of you remember all of the brain foods? How many of you gone through one of my trainings where I teach you how to memorize the brain foods, and you still know them? That's pretty good. Wow. All right, stand up, everyone, real quick. And then I'm going to get into whatever slides my team prepared for me. All right, I'm going to teach you a memory technology. It's 2,500 years old. I use it to memorize scripts, speeches without notes. And what we're going to do, it's called the memory palace. How many are familiar with memory palaces? All right, we're going to do it now. And even if you've seen me do this before, the difference between an expert or amateur or someone so-called master is they lean into the fundamentals. I want to remind you what keeps us from a level of expertise is this idea that we know this already, right? And so the best of the best really get good at the basics. So we're going to create a memory palace. And a memory palace is using locations to help you memorize things. Because we, as hunter-gatherers, used to remember things. It was more important than remembering, number, whatever we're remembering, places. We need to know where the clean water is. Where's the fertile soil? Where's the enemy tribe? That was our survival. So we store information in locations. We're going to take 10 locations on our body real quick, so you could do this. Top to bottom. So we're going to 10 places. And you're going to repeat after me, do what I do. One is top. One is what? Say it out loud. That's your verbal memory. Nose. Mouth. Go to side. Ears. Good. Throat. All right, that's 5. Do you remember this? There's no such thing as a good or bad memory. There's a trained memory and untrained memory. One is what? Top. Nose. Mouth. Ears. Throat. 6 is shoulders. Say it out loud. Collar. Fingers. Good. Belly. And bottom. Right, top to bottom, right? How many people know this? Go. Top, nose, mouth, ears, throat, shoulders, collar, All right. So what we're going to do now is you have 10 places, and when I teach somebody to memorize a TED script, on stage, how many of you have to give a presentation every once in a while? Raise your hand. There's a lot of nerves around that you're going to forget what you need to remember. All you do is this thing called PI, and that's not a brain food, right? P is place. We have our 10 places. I is imagine. We tend to remember things that we imagine that we could see in our mind. True? How many of you are much better with faces than you are with names? Raise your hand. Because you see the face. You go to someone and say, I recognize your face, but I forgot your name, right? You never go to someone and say the opposite. You never go to someone and say, I remember your name, but I forgot your face. That wouldn't make a lot of sense, right? So your visual cortex takes up more real estate in your nervous system. So we tend to remember what we see. So the I is imagine, and the E in PI is entwine. You put those two things together, the place and the image. So the brain foods, some of my favorite brain foods, and everybody is bio-individual, and go get a microbiome test and food sensitivity test, right? Some of the research items, we're going to put them on 10 things on our, because how many of you have ever gone to the store to buy one thing and you come back with 2 bags full of things? Except for what? That one thing that you went to the store for, right? So here are the 10 foods. The first one, avocados, right? Monounsaturated fat, good for your brain. I want you to imagine avocados all over your what? Top. So imagine guacamole as a conditioner, scalp conditioner. And if it makes you laugh, that's the key to a better memory. You need to see it and feel it. Most of us just hear it when we read. By the way, when you read, how many of you hear that voice inside your head? When you're reading, you hear that voice inside your head? Hopefully it's your own voice. It's not like somebody else's voice in there. The reason why, actually, most people read slowly because they're hearing the voice inside their head. just as an FYI. Meaning, if you have to say all the words in order to understand them, you can only read as fast as you could speak. That means your reading speed is limited to your talking speed, but not your thinking speed. How many of you listen to books or podcasts at a faster speed? Raise your hand, right? So you could understand it that fast, but you can't speak that fast. Now, do you have to say the words inside your head or out loud to understand them? No. 95% of all the words are sight words, words you've seen 100,000 times, so you don't have to pronounce New York City, right, or Health Optimization Summit in order to understand what those words mean, right? So we teach people how to reduce that subvocalization in these kind of trainings. So going back to this, the top of your head is what? Avocados. Second place is what? Nose. Blueberries. I like to call them brain berries. So imagine blueberries coming out of what? Your nose, right? And if it makes you laugh or something, that's why you remember it. Because here, do this. How many of you want a better long-term memory? Raise your hand. I believe 2 of the most costly words in life are I forgot. I forgot to do it. I forgot to bring it. I forgot what the person said. I forgot that conversation. I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot that meeting. I forgot that person's name, right? And so let's say you want to, do this. Long-term memory. Information, do this. Information, say it. Combined with emotions, become long-term memories. The emotion is what makes it memorable. That middle brain, you have your amygdala, you have your hippocampus connected, your hippocampus for function of memory, your amygdala, switching station for emotions. Your emotions are connected to your memory. How many of you know this? You could hear a song, it could take you back to when you were a teenager, right? Or a fragrance or a food could take you back to when you were a child. The information is forgettable, but when you add emotion, it becomes unforgettable. So add emotion to these images. You have what? Avocados, blueberries. So imagine, see and feel. Even if you can't imagine it, imagine you can imagine it, okay? Three is what? Mouth. I want you to imagine broccoli, right? Broccoli sprouts, right? So great brain food. So imagine broccoli stuck in your teeth. Imagine if somebody you knew had a big stalk of broccoli here at this event all day and nobody told them about it. Just imagine that for a split second. 4 is what? Ears. Olive oil. Great brain food. How many of you love olive oil? All right, so imagine you're cleaning your ears with what? Or you have olive earrings. Perfect. All right, number 5 is what? Throat. If your diet allows, eggs. The choline in eggs is good for cognitive health. Imagine instead of an Adam's apple, you have some form of eggs, like however you like them prepared. And taste what that feels like. All right, 6, shoulders. Max was talking about green leafy vegetables, right? Imagine shoulder pads, kale, and spinach. Shoulder pads. Look to your left and to your right. Imagine, see it. See it on your neighbors. You see them? Great. 7 is what? Collar. I'm like doing it tapping. For those of you familiar with tapping. Okay. I want you to imagine a collar, wild salmon or sardines, right? The fatty fishes. Imagine a necklace of sushi. Salmon sushi. 3-day-old salmon sushi. Yeah, there you go. Now you won't ever forget that. All right, 8 is what? Fingers, turmeric. Turmeric all over your fingers. Remember that golden powder? It lowers inflammation, good for your brain. Imagine you can't get it off your fingers. That's easy, right? 9 is what? Your belly. Walnuts. How about walnuts? Imagine you going outside and somebody's eating snacks, walnuts out of their belly button. Would you have to study that for hours to remember that? How long will you remember that? A long time, right? So walnuts, they look like a human brain. And then finally, 10 is what? Bottom, dark chocolate. I don't even want to know what you're thinking. Dark chocolate. All right. Now, dark chocolate. What's good for your mood is going to be good for your mind, right? And so now you're at the store, right? Tim, they called you up saying, hey, we're going to do an HOS super brain food party. Can you pick up these 10 things? You can't write them down, but you put it on your body. And it takes a lot less time to do it than it does to talk about it, right? Split second. Because a picture's worth what? 1,000 words. Now you're at the store. What are the 10 things? What's the first thing you need to buy as you're going down the aisles? Green leafy vegetables, good. Salmon, good. Turmeric. Give yourselves a round of applause. Can you do it backwards? Backwards. Show me. Eggs. Olive oil. Broccoli. All right, give yourselves a round of applause. Have a seat. All right, I'm going to share with you strategies now to learn faster and to help you get this unlimited, limitless confidence and competence that you want. My big thing here is that you're learning a lot. So the theme of what I want you to pull out of these next 2 days, if you ask me, is integration. That I want you to feel like not only are you believing you could do this, but your head and your heart and your hands are aligned. And that's how you have true integration with anything. That what you think and what you feel is aligned with what you're doing. Your head, your heart, your hands. And I try to keep it that simple. H cubed, to get anything you want, right? You have to see it here, right? Feel it here, and then do it here. But how many of you know what to do here, but you're not acting here consistently? Raise your hand, right? And so what's missing? Heart, right? Emotions, the energy emotion. Because, right, we're not logical. If we were logical, we'd be doing all the things that would be good for us, right? And good for people around us. We're not logical, we're biological. You think about dopamine and oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. We have this neurochemical, feeling soup, right? So how do you access more of that? And part of it is these things that we do, standing up and doing these exercise and putting into practice. I talk about in Limitless the power of having a dominant question, that you have 60,000 thoughts a day, and there are certain thoughts you have more than any other thoughts, and they often come in the form of questions. And whatever you're rehearsing most is what you're practicing inside your mind. Does that make sense? But how conscious are we of our own thinking, of the questions that we're asking ourselves? How many of you think you know what your dominant question is, like the question you ask more than any other question? Like for me, many of you know I had a head injury when I was 5. I had learning difficulties because of it. I couldn't read for 3 years. I had all these struggles. And at age 18, I met a mentor and learned some strategies. And really I realized that's, after 30 years, this is, I'm turning 50 tomorrow. Next month. And it's just like, in my mind, I'm just reflecting on what I've learned. And I realized that school is a great place to teach you what to learn, maybe math, history, science, Spanish. But there are not a lot of classes on how to learn those things. And I think it's the number one skill to master today. Because if you can learn how to learn, you can write your own ticket. If you can learn how to focus, you can learn how to remember, you can learn how to read and understand and think and implement, you can apply that towards what? Everything in your life gets a whole lot easier. But it's funny, it's not taught in school, right? And I realized that it's not how smart you are, it's how are you smart. It's not how smart you are, it's how are you smart. This is brand new. We just released this past week, and I've never used slides. We released a brain assessment, and it's brand new. I spent 12 months developing this quiz, if you will. And you could check it out. It's at mybrainanimal.com. This is not it. mybrainanimal.com. And what we do is we've determined that there are 4 cognitive types. When I said it's not how smart you are, it's how are you smart, there are 4 ways primarily that people learn and they lead and that they live. And once you understand your cognitive type, you could go out there and really write your own ticket. And it takes the self-judgment away from the ones that you have in terms of I'm not good enough, or maybe somebody else knows this better than I do. And this test, it's a brain code, C-O-D-E. It's the C stands for a cheetah. And a cheetah, maybe you could identify with this. Code it only takes 4 minutes to go through. A cheetah, how many of you know a cheetah in your life? And I'll describe it right now. They're fast actors. Like they just implement right away. They're very intuitive. They thrive in fast-paced environments. They're very fast thinkers. Those are your cheetahs. The O in code are your owls. Your owls are, how many of you know people are just very logical? They love data. They love facts and figures and formulas, right? And they make decisions differently than other people. The D in code are your dolphins. And your dolphins are your creative visionaries. They're great problem solvers, pattern recognizers, right? And then finally, the E are your elephants, and your elephants are your empaths. How many of you identify with that as an elephant? People who, they love collaboration, they have great interpersonal skills, they can feel what other people are kind of feeling, right? But once you understand your brain code, it unlocks this incredible world to you, because then you have a real strategy, and we'll give you, like when you take the quiz, it's absolutely free, there's nothing to buy. We give you prompts on how to learn based on your animal type, how to focus, how to read better. And this is, I think, like as people are going into personal nutrition, right, and personal medicine, this is like personalized learning. And this is a way that you could go through it. And then also have your family, your friends, your teams go through it, because it would explain, and then it will give you like the best careers that you would thrive in, the best learning styles, people throughout history that represent that code also as well. Here, though, what I wanted to give you is just a reminder, if you have Limitless, this is the key really to unlocking your potential. What I get very excited about, because I felt so limited so long at those important years, is that I get really excited hearing all the stories where people are accessing and actualizing more of their mental potential. Because the reason I'm so excited about this, because I not only do I believe in what I teach, but I believe in what you have, right? This incredible gift between your ears. But it doesn't come with an owner's manual. It's not user-friendly. So what I said, the key to life is making choices. The choices you make are the three most important choices are these three circles, because you control the controllables. You can't control what's going outside, but you can control three things all the time. How many of you, talk about being stuck, how many of you feel stuck in some area of your life? If you're healthy, you probably more than one area, right? Like maybe Limitless is not about being perfect. It's about advancing and progressing beyond what you believe is possible, right? But when you learn how to learn, how many of you still remember the brain foods? What's the first one? And the second? And the third? And you're going to remember, it's funny, you're going to remember this months and months from now, because when you understand how your brain works, you could work your brain. When you understand how your memory works, you could work your memory. You could go in your home and take items going clockwise, and all of a sudden, instead of the 10 places on your body, you have 10 places in your home. And you could put key ideas that you're learning this weekend to apply. Going back to the dominant question, my dominant question in the beginning was, why me? When I was a kid, I was always like, why me? And I would get answers, because it would activate that part of your brain called the reticular activating system, your RAS, that determines your focus. It determines where you shine a spotlight on, right? Because primarily, your brain is a deletion device. Primarily, your brain's trying to delete information. Because if you let everything in, what would happen? Yeah, you'd be overwhelmed, right? You'd be overloaded. So you're trying to keep things out. The things you let in are the things that you activate your RAS for, like your name. Your name is hardwired to look. Like if somebody shouted your name out there in the expo, you would look even if you didn't recognize the voice, because you're wired for it. And your questions are what determine what you shine the spotlight on. So mine was, why me? And then I was like, oh, so every time I did badly in school, I say, why me? Oh, because I have the broken brain. Every time I wasn't picked for sports, which was pretty often, I would say, why me? Oh, because I have the broken brain. And that was not helpful, right? Like I have a friend whose dominant question is, how do I get people to like me? And you don't know anything about this person, but if somebody asked themselves 1,000 times a day, how do I get people to like me? What's their life like? What's their personality? Shout it out. They're what? They're a people pleaser. What else? Very insecure. What else? They're shy. They're a martyr. People take advantage of them. Their personality changes depending on who they're spending time with, because they want to model them and be liked, right? And so you know nothing about this individual, but you know a whole lot about her because of just one question they ask themselves. What's your dominant question? Because whatever your dominant question is going to determine your focus. Your focus is going to determine how you feel. Your feelings going to determine what you do. And what you do is going to determine your experience and your results in your life. Later on, my dominant question changed from why me to how do I fix it? And I started getting answers, right? Then I started asking, how do I make this better? How do I make this better and enjoy the process? And I started getting better questions. I started getting better what? Answers, right? If you have a question like, how do I reach my 10-year goal, but do it in 6 months? You're going to get a different set of answers, right? And so, like, what's the best use of this moment? A lot of people, when they read, how many of you ever read a page in a book, got to the end, and then just forgot what you just read? and you go back and you read it, and you still know what you just read. Most of us don't even have questions for what we're reading, because if you're asking questions, you get, oh, there's an answer, there's an answer, there's an answer. So to be very conscious of your mindset. So the first thing, Limitless is not about being perfect. It's about advancing and progressing beyond what you currently believe is possible, what you're currently demonstrating, right? And the reason why I'm not going tactical, first of all, nobody really asked any tactical questions, is 95% of what we publish, terabytes of information is online for free, right? You could find it, it's not hard to find. You could just search my name. The reason, though, is a lot of people know this, the methods, but they're not doing it because they either self-sabotage because of this or they procrastinate because of this. Does that make sense? Like, so think about an area of your life where you feel like you're stuck in a box, all right? You're not advancing. Is it your health? Is it a relationship? Is it your happiness? Is it your income? Is it your reading speed, right? Is it your memory? Where do you feel like you're in a box? So even draw out a box if you have a piece of paper, or just imagine it. Now that box is three-dimensional, right? There's 3 dimensions that contain that box. These are the 3 forces that will liberate you out of that box, is your mindset, your motivation, and your methods that you're using. And so this is where I focus on. Mindset's your possibility, motivation's your purpose, and the method is the actual process, right? But the reason I put this last, mindset is stand up again. All right, make some distance from the person next to you. Just move around a little bit. Shake out your body. You could do this if you're sitting also as well. All right, so I want you to do this. Wherever you are, keep stationary, keep your feet stationary, and I just want you to point forward with your right hand. Your other right hand, sir. Okay. I know it's early. All right, so without moving your feet, just turn to your right clockwise. If you're sitting, that's fine. Just turn to your right as you take your neighbor's eye out. And notice how far you could turn. Take a mental snapshot of where you're pointing. All right, come back center. Put your arms by your side, empty your hands, not in your pocket, but just empty your hands. Take a deep breath. Exhale, let it out. And I just want you to imagine right now, we're going to go through a 30-second mind exercise. Imagine you're raising your hand again, but this time imagine you're turning twice as far as you did the first time. Twice as far as you did the first time. See and feel yourself going twice as far as you did the first time. And with your eyes closed, I want you to imagine like it's really pleasurable. You're made out of rubber. See and feel yourself going 3 times around. And if you can't imagine it, imagine that you can imagine it. Going 3 times around. And then one more time with, again, that big smile on your face. See and feel yourself going 4 times around. Imagine what it feels like to go 1, 2, 3, 4 times around. All right, watch how amazing you are. Open your eyes. Point forward with your right hand. Turn to your right as far as you can now go. All right, clap if you went further the second time. Have a seat, have a seat. Now raise your hand, look around. Raise your hand if you went further the second time. Look around, look at your neighbors. 95% of you. Now my question for you is this. This is the question of the weekend. Were you physically capable of turning that far the first time? Yes or no? Yes. Nobody took a yoga class when our eyes were closed, right? You're physically capable. Where was the limit if there was one? In your mind, right? And you could say, well, I didn't have a belief on how far I could turn. How many beliefs do we have? Just write this in your notes. All behavior is belief-driven. All behavior is belief-driven. Some of you went 25, 50% further. Did you work harder the second time? No. What if you could go 25, 50% further in your income without working harder? What if you go 25, 50% further in your happiness? What if there's potential to go 25, 50% further, in your health, right? Not necessarily working any harder, but maybe there's some kind of limitation. So your mindset are the set of assumptions and attitudes you have about something. Your attitudes, assumptions about money. Your attitudes, assumptions about health. I'll tell you 3 things that are here that you really need to check in with your mindset. Number 1, what I believe is possible. Because you could believe it's possible for somebody. Number 2, what I believe I'm capable of. You could think it's possible for other people to get whatever you want there, but you might not believe it's possible for you. Is that going to affect how much you're going to use? Yes? Yes or no? Yes, of course, right? Because all behavior is belief-driven. I'll tell you another one in here, what I believe I deserve. Because if you don't believe you deserve to be healthy, or believe you deserve wealthy, or deserve to be whatever, right? Smart or whatever you're learning, then you're still going to be stuck, even if you're still being stuck in that box, right? Now, the second thing that will keep you in that box, besides your mindset, is your motivation. Maybe you're not motivated to get out of that box. And I'm not going to go through it here because of the limited time, but the key to limitless motivation, I'll give you the formula. For you or your kids or anybody, it's P times E times S3. If you're learning things at this event and you're not implementing, you have to tap into the P, E, or S3, three S's. The P is purpose, right? Purpose is how you feel. So it's not cognitively. You all know you're very intelligent, right? It's not that. It's you have to feel the benefits that would come and have a reason. Without a reason, you won't get the result. Like, let's say, how many of you have trouble remembering names? Raise your hand. Let's say there's this, Tim has a suitcase here of £1 million, like a lot of money, right? For you or your favorite charity, if you just remember the name of the next person you meet out there. Raise your hand if you remember that person's name. Now, how come you're all memory experts all of a sudden? Because the truth is, it had nothing to do with your capability. It was all BS, your belief systems, right? Because you just weren't motivated to remember the name, right? So you have to remember. So the keys for memory, M-O-M. The M is motivation. The O is this. Shake out your hand. Make sure your neighbor's shaking out one hand. Doesn't matter which one. Look at me do this. Everyone shake out your hand. Make a fist. Put it to your chin. Now, come on. Where's your chin? The O in mom is your observation. A lot of people, they blame their retention, and it's not your attention. It's not your retention, it's your attention. It's paying attention. You have this incredible gift, this incredible super brain of yours, right? You could remember it, you're just not paying attention, right? Because you're distracted. Every ring, ping, ding, app notification, social media alert, we're driven to distraction, with our technology. And focus is a muscle. It's not something you have, it's something you do. You do not have focus. You do not have a memory. You do not even have motivation. You're like, that's my problem, Jim. You don't even have energy. You do it. And a big first principle of what we do is you transform nouns into verbs. Get in the habit. Don't say, I don't have motivation. You do motivation. You don't have energy. You generate energy. There's a process for energizing yourself. Yes? Right? And that's motivation. So P is purpose, feel the purpose, or even if you want your kids to eat better, right, or do certain things, give them a reason so they get the result. And then the here, when we're going through there, the E is energy. Like if you know you want to exercise or do all these different things and you're not doing it, maybe you're in a food coma. Maybe you haven't slept in 3 days, right? So energy is really key, and that's a lot of the things that's being taught. These couple of days, resources outside, they give you more energy. Because if you're exhausted, you're not going to be motivated. Does that make sense? And then finally, S3. P times E times S3, small, simple steps. And this is the big one for a lot of us. It's like the other reason you could have limitless purpose, limitless energy, and still not do that thing, because you're not breaking it down into small, simple steps, because this thing is too intimidating. This thing is too confusing. And a confused mind doesn't do anything, right? So maybe if you're not working out, doing your thing, whatever, maybe it's putting on your running shoes is your small, simple step. If you can't get your kids to floss their teeth, we know from the previous talk here, it's good oral hygiene is good brain health, right? Floss one tooth, because nobody's going to stop there. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. And then finally, we put the methods here, right? But these are the three things that I circle. Whenever I'm coaching somebody or I'm working with a client or of any age or stage, I'm talking to them and I'm sorting out, is this a mindset issue, is it a motivation issue, or is it a methodology? Because they could also be using old methods for reading. When's the last time you trained in reading? How old were you when you took a class called reading? 6? 7? Right? So as the difficulty and demand increased, a lot, right? But how we're the last method. So there's methods for being healthy, right? And we learn so much more. That's why you want to learn how to learn. And that's why that's the most important thing to learn. We'll give you these slides. I'm not sure how to be able to do this because I wish I had 5 days with you. So this is my process for growth here. It's 4 R's, and I tend to alliterate. You reach, you replenish, you restore, and then you rest. And I can't I don't even know how to get you these slides. I'm not very technical. I'm technical up here, but this is the idea how I live my life every single day, right? In the morning, I break my day into 3 different parts. In the morning, I have my morning routines. You can watch those videos and everything. In the morning, I just focus on three C's throughout the day. In the morning, I want to create. So the first thing, I'm not inputting anything. I'm not touching my phone. I'm focusing on creating. The second part of the afternoon, I'm consuming. So I'm reading or I'm listening to podcasts, I'm having conversations with people, I'm learning. So I create, I consume, and in the evening, I'm clearing. I don't want to be thinking about, I'm meditating, resetting, I'm journaling, getting stuff, I'm planning my day for my task for the next day. I'm clearing my mind. So in the beginning of my mind, I am creating out of my mind. Later, I'm consuming inside my mind, and then I'm calming and clearing my mind. Does that make sense? And I don't do that perfectly every single day, but it's nice to have a filter system, right? And then my community helps me to be able to do those things too, because I can be creative with my community, on my team. I could consume also as well, and then I could help. We could group clear. This is the big thing, right, is consistency. If you're persistent, you could get it. You get the 6-pack abs, you could get the income, whatever else. If you're persistent, you could achieve it, but if you're consistent, you get to keep it, right? That's why consistency is so very important. These are, I use everything that's here, everything that's outside, literally, Catalyst, Katsu, Carol, but I'm gonna put these out. If you message me on Kwik Learning Instagram, our team will send you this if that's okay. You literally just put HOS slides at Kwik Learning on Instagram. And some of the supplements. All right, this is what I want to get to. Wow, my team made this for me yesterday, so I was just. Yeah, in order to measure, you have to measure. Okay, yeah, this is good stuff. All right. These are the animals, by the way, that you want to check out. We made some amazing art, but when you go through this quiz, you'll get a detailed report on how to access your greatest potential. And here's the code for it. It's absolutely free. There's nothing to buy also as well. If you go here and take this quiz, I'm curious if you're a cheetah or you're an owl, you're a creative visionary like a dolphin, you're an empath or an elephant, and you'll get a detailed report that's free that will give you a personalized learning experience, second to none, to help you to be able to learn, to lead, and to live. And they're asking me to wrap up right now, and I just want to remind you of this, that again, there's a version of yourself. There's a version of your family. There's a version of your team that's patiently waiting. There's a version of your body, of your brain that's patiently waiting. The goal is we show up every single day until we're introduced to that person. All right? So I want to thank you for playing full out. You're absolutely the best. Be limitless, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.